If you ever felt personal finance was too overwhelming, you're not alone. For many of us, the problem isn't too much information. It's that we just don't understand the game that we're playing. I never thought I could win at personal finance until I started viewing it like a video game. Today, I want to share how I play this money game so you can finally see how easy it actually is, and I'll even give you the cheat codes to help you level up faster. So first, most video games are what we consider finite games, like Call of Duty or Fortnite, meaning you either win or you lose the round. But personal finance is an infinite game, meaning it's not about eliminating all the other players or winning or losing, it's more about continuously playing and leveling up, which means you have to play by a different set of rules. And while you might find it super exhausting because it sounds like it never ends, I actually find it takes off a lot of pressure, because instead of trying to race to some random finish line, like I need $10 million to retire, you notice that it's more about building sustainable habits to keep you going, which makes financial setbacks a little bit easier to handle. Like if the stock market dips or you get an unexpected big expense, right? It's not like it's game over, you lose. Rather, you think of it as more of just like a tough or challenging level that you got to get through, which forces your mindset to shift from short-term victories to long-term wins. Now, with that said, a problem I do see almost every single person make is that they get stuck in this thing called tutorial mode, right? In video games, a tutorial mode like RuneScape or Kingdom Hearts, it's when you kind of go through the start of the game, right? You spend time learning the basics and the game mechanics. It's a safe and comfortable environment where you can get accustomed to what you're going to be doing. But in personal finance, being in tutorial mode is kind of that phase that you know you should be doing something with your money, but you haven't really pulled the trigger yet. No pun intended. Maybe you've been keeping cash in a brokerage account because you're too scared to invest, or you've been researching high yield saving accounts for weeks, but you still haven't gotten around to it because you had other things to focus on. The reason you're stuck here is because you're trying to find the perfect approach to do X, Y, and Z. But the thing is, perfection is an illusion. You can never achieve perfection. And I'm massively guilty of thinking this way as well when it comes to building a business or expanding the business. Like the perfectionist in me, right, would want me to look at all the best practices and be able to follow each one to the T. Like even for filming this video, right? I ideally would like to wait until all my acne disappears before I film, but then my acne comes every so often and randomly. So it's not like I can time that perfectly. Nowadays, I don't care too much, but that old perfectionist in me suffered a lot, right? I would make myself sick, I would make up excuses and whatnot. I would waste time in analysis paralysis and just second guessing and reworking everything I did until it was perfect. But the biggest thing that changed my life and my trajectory with personal finance is learning how to ditch perfectionism and embrace being just good enough. So instead of being that really good A++ Asian kid in academia and aiming for A+, I now just aim for B+ work. This lets me be more efficient and more productive and forces me outside of tutorial mode as quickly as possible so I can actually do things, right? Like launch my YouTube channel or start an online business or expand it or whatnot. The truth is, my version and your version of good enough, B+, is probably pretty damn great already. And just speaking about getting out of tutorial mode, real quick, I want to share something important because I saw a lot of people asking for this. I created a free 5-day investing course, completely free. So in 5 days, I'm going to be teaching you how to get on the path to financial freedom, how to invest without feeling overwhelmed, and how to protect your money. Again, it's completely free. You can get it by clicking the link in the description. All right, now that you are off of tutorial mode and you have your bronze sword in hand, or maybe a spreadsheet or whatever, next we gotta talk about XP, or experience points, which is how you level up in the money game. In video games, every little action that you do, like defeating a monster or completing a quest or discovering a new location, gives you XP. With personal finance, think of every positive financial you take as earning XP towards your next level of financial health. Each dollar saved, each debt you paid off, each investing lesson learned, that is experience points. One way I like to visualize this is actually tracking my net worth like an XP bar. So I have this spreadsheet that basically tracks my net worth. And when I started it, I set specific net worth milestones, like once I hit 10K net worth or 100K or 500K or 1 million, 2 million, etc., I see my net worth going up, right? And when it hits that certain milestone, that means that I leveled up to the next level. And I find this really helpful because it turns boring, overwhelming personal finance activities like saving and investing and stuff like that into wins and progress. Like say you bring coffee from home instead of buying it, maybe that's worth 5 XP, right? Maybe you cook dinner instead of ordering DoorDash. Maybe that's 10 XP. It sounds really silly, but it works because you start chasing those little wins. And research studies shows that tiny moments of success builds a habit loop because each win triggers like a rewarding feeling that makes you want to win more. And the great thing is these small consistent actions compound. Like in video games, gaining XP unlocks better abilities, you can use stronger weapons to help you fight stronger monsters, and then you gain XP faster, right? It's the same thing when it comes to money. For example, if you invest $100 a month and you earn 10% annualized average return, you'd have nearly $1.5 million in your portfolio in 50 years. So start thinking about those daily small activities like gaining XP points, like in World of Warcraft, when you are destroying spiders and rats and building those small XP points, eventually they make you strong enough to take on dragons. And speaking of dragons, now we gotta talk about boss battles. So in video games, boss battles are those really big, challenging fights that test everything you've got. In our financial journey, we also face boss battles, and there are 2 boss battles that everyone faces at one point or another. The best way to tackle these real-life boss battles is to also think about how you approach it when you play a video game. Like in Black Myth Wukong, I lost to the boss Black Wind King like a million times because he can turn into wind and become invincible. So what did I do, right? I put on my 4 eyes and I studied his patterns and then timed my attacks perfectly to when he was in a solid state. The first common financial boss battle people experience is with debt. So approach it the same way you would do with video games. For example, first identify why and where you are spending too much money, or figure out how the debt grew and stop it at its source. Number 2, start upgrading your equipment and your armor. That means saving more money, maybe boosting your income, or gaining more knowledge. And then number 3, attack it with a proven debt elimination strategy like the avalanche method, which is basically going straight for the boss's weak spots. The second boss battle that most people fight is lifestyle inflation, okay? A 2023 study asked Americans how much money they would need to be comfortable. And surprisingly, the more income someone made, the more money they needed. Someone who earned under $50,000 said they needed $184K to be comfortable, but someone who earned more than $100K said they needed $341K to be comfortable. And this sounds bad, but I completely understand why. So I grew up poor, but when I got my first job in corporate America, I was what you consider a high income earner, which is great. But the problem is, this was my very first experience with having real money. So it was only natural for me to want to treat myself in a way to, I guess, compensate for when I didn't have anything when I was a kid. So for the first couple of months when I got my paycheck, I splurged at everything, right? I got front row concert tickets, I bought XYZ, bought a new phone, a new computer. But the problem is, when you drastically spend more money, as your income goes up, you have less and less money left over despite earning more money. And what helped me stop this boss battle of lifestyle inflation from winning is by setting savings goals. Right? Once I had a clear, concrete target, like I want to save for a house, or I want to save for a vacation or a big purchase, I was less likely to spend on unnecessary things. And since these savings were for a short-term goal, I wanted to keep them in a bank with great customer service, because one of the most frustrating things that I've experienced is calling customer service only to have to talk to a robot or be stuck on hold for an hour. Thankfully, this is not the case with today's sponsor, Live Oak Bank, which has the fastest response time I've ever experienced. Like, their average wait time to talk to a human is only 1 minute. And I think this is especially important for your money because it's your money, duh. And the last thing you want is to not have access to it, right? Like one time I was working remotely in Cape Town and I completely forgot to pay one of my vendors, and they were actually gonna tack on a late fee for me, which fair, if I didn't send the payment that day. And since I was outside of the US, I had a bit of a trouble accessing my bank account. So I just called up Live Oak's customer service and bam, in a few minutes, the problem was solved. I personally use Live Oak Bank for my small business, and it's pretty great. They're a digitally focused FDIC insured bank that serves customers across the US. They have a great high yield interest rate, and they don't have any minimum balance requirements or any maintenance fees. But like I said earlier, the thing that really stands out to me and the reason I'm really excited to partner with Live Oak Bank is the fact that you know you're gonna be talking to a real person for help when you need it. So if you're interested in Live Oak Bank, check out the link in the description, and thanks again to Live Oak Bank for sponsoring this video. Alrighty, so now in video games, after you defeat a big boss and you gain a bunch of XP, you can use that XP to unlock new abilities in a skill tree. Like in Skyrim, you can unlock magic to increase your attacks or to conjure up monsters to help you out. In personal finance, there are also skill trees, such as Saving Masteries or Investment Wizard or Income Maximizer, and so on. The more you focus on each skill tree or branch, the more things you unlock and the stronger you become at that specific skill. In my case, when I first took personal finance seriously, I first focused on the Savings Mastery skill tree. My mom was super frugal because we didn't have a lot of money, so this came very naturally for me. And I'm talking like I was a serious penny pincher, right? I wouldn't buy things unless it was on sale or if I had a coupon, and I would literally walk from store to store trying to compare prices to save $5 or $10, and this is before online shopping was super popular. I would track every single dollar in my budget operating system. I would turn down hangouts or vacations or plans just to save a couple of bucks. To be fair, this obsessive approach wasn't always fun, but transparently, it did give me a solid foundation. Within 12 to 18 months, I was able to save around a 6-month emergency fund, which felt like unlocking a major achievement. And during this time, I was also focusing on my investment wizard skill tree, right? I started small, setting up automatic transfers, maxing out my employer's match, used the Roth IRA, and eventually opened a brokerage account. But then I hit a progress wall. I realized no matter how much I cut back, there was only so much that I could save and invest when my income was at a ceiling. And that's when I realized I needed to also focus on the income maximizer skill tree. So I started taking my corporate America job more seriously, right? I needed a raise, so I started documenting my work accomplishments religiously. I had this folder on my computer called a brag folder, and every time I had like a good job email, I dragged and dropped it in there. I took screenshots. So when I went to my performance review, I had concrete evidence of what I brought to the company. I also started taking side hustles more seriously for additional income, started making YouTube videos after work, filming and editing everything myself. I was basically hustling nonstop, even on weekends. And within a year, my side hustle income was bringing in almost 50% of my main job's salary. But here's where I made a mistake that I see a lot of people make. It's not super obvious at first, but I'd argue that a health skill tree is also a very important branch in the personal finance skill tree space. And I learned this lesson the hard way, believe me. I burned out for weeks. I just felt numb for weeks, and I won't get into it too much, but it was bad. So in addition, I started focusing on my health on top of all the other skill trees, right? I started setting boundaries at work and developing a consistent sleep schedule and whatnot. The fascinating thing when it comes to a personal finance skill tree is that there are a lot of interdependencies, meaning building one skill can unlock benefits in another skill. For example, if you learn how to budget, like you budget mastery, at least to a basic level, it frees up points that you can put into other areas. Because if you know where your money is coming from, where it's going, you can save more or redirect that money towards investing or focusing on income maximizer, and then you unlock higher paying jobs, which you can then funnel into your investment branch. But the most important thing to remember is that money in personal finance is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It really depends on your personal life. Like maybe early in your journey, you want to focus on aggressively saving, like you're a college student and you want to save 50% of your income. And as you get older, you have a family, you might start easing up on that and focus more on earning more, the income maximizer, or investing smarter instead. All these changes is just upgrading your character, you, for a new phase of the game. Because remember, the game is not static, okay? You keep on learning and adjusting. Next, the moment you've been waiting for, power-ups and cheat codes. Like if you ever played Grand Theft Auto, then you know that you can enter certain cheat codes and do really cool stuff like become invincible or spawn an attack helicopter. And all that makes the game a lot easier and frankly, more fun. In the game of personal finance, there are also power-ups and cheat codes that give you a boost along the way. First, power-ups. And one common example that everyone should look out for is free money from your employer. Like if your job offers a 401k match, say they'll match your contributions up to 5% of your salary. Take advantage of that. It literally is free money. Another power up is using tax advantage accounts like a Roth IRA or HSA. And sometimes these might not feel like a power up right now. They will later on because they give you a lot of tax-free growth and tax advantages that you wouldn't have other ways. Another power up is using a high yield savings account, not super flashy, but getting a 4% interest for the money in your savings instead of a 0.01% on your savings can be substantial over time. These power ups might be a little bit different from gaining invincibility, but every small enhancement helps a bit. Next, cheat codes. So money cheat codes mostly come in the form of knowledge or life hacks that give you massive results. For example, getting a mentor or a coach. And this is something that I've really missed out on when I was younger because my parents don't speak English and they immigrated to the US. So this whole financial system thing here was completely brand new to them. Meaning it's not like they could have been like, hey, Vincent, put your money here or do this or do that with your personal finances. Because I personally had to figure out everything on my own, which took a lot of time, a lot of trial and error. For example, even though I worked at a supermarket in high school and I had earned income, I didn't know about Roth IRAs until I was in my 20s. And if I started utilizing Roth IRAs a lot sooner, I could have had a lot more money in there, tax advantaged. Another cheat code that you might not know is just living below your means and trying to house hack as quickly as possible for a period of time. It's not glamorous, but say you manage to live, let's say, rent-free, right, with family for a year or two after you graduate, that can let you save a lot of money really fast and jump ahead, miles ahead in levels. I personally know someone who actually stayed at home for 3 years after college and they saved up enough money to put a down payment on for a duplex. And by 25 or 26-ish, he was able to house hack, meaning he lived in the duplex but rented out the other rooms. So he was essentially living there for free because he was receiving rent payments from the tenants and he used that payment as income to cover the mortgage payments as well as pay himself some money. In video game terms, that's like Mario eating a mushroom and he becomes stronger. But you definitely want to be aware of fake cheat codes. In other words, scams or shortcuts that are too good to be true. Like in Counter-Strike, I saw a lot of people use a lot of cheats like aimbots, but there's probably a really good chance that you're going to end up with a virus. In money terms, if someone promises you a get-rich-quick scheme with zero risk, you're probably getting scammed, which is why having a good mentor or a coach is super helpful. They can guide you in the right direction to avoid rookie mistakes, which save you time and save you a lot of money. And if you don't have someone who can guide you within your circle, then I got you guys. I got you. The great thing about video games is when you play one, you get to be whoever you want to be. You get to choose all your stats, your background, and your skills. But unfortunately, that's not a luxury that real life offers. In real life, you are just you, right? You're a human with struggles and flaws. You're not a robot who can be perfect all the time. Not even me. And honestly, for the longest time, even though I wanted to get better with personal finance and money, I always procrastinated, right? Because I felt exhausted after work, despite wanting to be productive, whether that's so I could improve my money or to start my own business or to learn a new skill. But thankfully, things have really turned around after I discovered these 6 things that helps me stop wasting my evenings after work. If you're interested, click here to learn what changed my life, and I'll see you there.